when I am a little bit nervous, I lose the 50% of my English. So I prefer to apologize in advance, okay? But I will try to do my best. So let's go. Hi Frank. Hi David. He's
Hi.
the
Good evening.
yes, the man. So there's that. Hi everyone, and welcome to another Red Cave Boot Club. Today we are going to talk about City of Last Chains. But today is a special day because we count with the attendance of the author Adrian Tchaikovsky. So first of all, I would like to thank Mr. Tchaikovsky to spend this time with us, his fans in Spain, to talk about your book. We are very excited to come with you because this is the fourth book club that we deal about one of your titles. Because as I told you, we already have done Spiderlight, Elder Race, and Make Things, and this is the fourth one. Okay, Ethan, I think that is clear. It's clear that we love your stories, and the City of Last Chains is perhaps the one we like it the most of all the ones that we have read until now. So to make a little presentation, because I think that it's very probably that we share this book club in the social media, I would like to present you at least. I think that at least you have lived under a stone. It's difficult to don't know who is Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I think that really don't need presentation. But this is a short introduction. Adrian Tchaikovsky is one of the most prolific and versatile voices in science fiction and fantasy. Okay, with a background in theology and psychology, Tchaikovsky has masterfully woven his fascination with evolution, intelligence, and complex systems into literary works that push the boundaries of the genre. Since 2016, he has won an award per year. So that is absolutely amazing. But when I was reading your career, I saw that every year you have won an award. That is absolutely crazy. And his publishing pace is the envy of the Seven Kingdoms. And I sincerely believe that he has an evil plan to wipe out our savings, because you are publishing absolutely 2 books per year. I'm sure that you are writing right now. While you are listening, you are writing something, because it's absolutely crazy the pace of your publishing. That is incredible.
With the feet, he's writing now.
Yes, that's absolutely crazy. That is incredible. I honestly think that George Martin must be jealous, very jealous, for example, with you. Coming back to the City of Last Chains, you have won the BSFA award and was an Hugo shortlisted with City of Last Chains. So beyond his narrative talent, Adrian is known for this close connection with the readers, something that is true because you are here with us today with some random fans in Spain Monday evening. So it is absolutely true. And okay, I would like to talk with you about this book, this series, because as soon as I read, this is the first of 5 books that you are planning to write about this world. Can you explain us a little bit in a wall, like completely a wall regarding this book, this series, this story? Can you explain about what is the purpose, what is your vision about this series?
So this series was historically inspired. It's drawing a lot from mid-18th century European history, when we had a wave of revolutions in most of the major countries in Europe, all of which failed horribly, unfortunately. But it's this fascinating point of European history where occupied nations that are part of these large imperial powers, like especially the Austro-Hungarian Empire, are are becoming aware of their own nationhood and their own identity. And sorry, I'm getting a lot of.
I mute the last
Okay.
member to join. Sorry. Please, can you continue?
Yeah, and they are, a lot of this is coming in through a rediscovery of their own stories and culture and legends, and a rephrasing of these. You see this a lot. You see it in Finland, you see it in the Czech Republic, you see it in Hungary, and you get this fascinating point of tension in European history between the great powers and all of the different sort of peoples and ethnicities and nation states under their control. And at the same time, of course, you have got the great age of sort of colonial and imperial expansion into the rest of the world. And one direction I was coming to this series from was I wanted to do a fantasy series that, rather than drawing on the Middle Ages or ancient Rome, was drawing on this much more modern, much more sort of intricate feel. At the same time, I'd always kind of wanted to write something that drew a lot on Victor Hugo, his writing Les Miserables, which is set at around that time. And I also kind of wanted to write a book that drew on Casablanca. And all of these different ideas came into this one book, and I realized they fit together really neatly into a single idea. So you have a city where people go when they are trying to get out from under this oppressive regime. You have a city that is under occupation, and you have this resistance and rebellion brewing. And you have this very sort of 1700s, 1800s, early industrial revolution feel, and then a huge amount of magic, because I wanted to write a book which had that very sort of street feel, that very low level, ordinary person feel, but at the same time, rather than it being a world that was itself fairly non-magical, as you often find in a kind of a grimdark style fantasy, I wanted something that just had a lot of magic that everyone took basically for granted. So all the factories are driven by demons, and you've got this district in the city that's completely taken over by ghosts, and that's just basically how the world works for these people. And then as the series goes on, each book takes place somewhere else. You have some characters who are going to move from book to book, but each book is designed so that you can just pick up, say, the second book or the third book and read that without having read the others. And it will still make sense as a story on its own. But if you have read the others, you'll get an extra level of detail because you'll recognize some of the characters who are turning up. The other big thing with this series in particular, which is I think why I'm finding them so much fun to write, is I am normally a writer who will plan out books chapter by chapter in considerable detail. With this series, I've planned out the world, but the actual events of the books I sort of just let happen. So the pressures and stresses of the world as I've set up will create give me the characters and create the plot, and I'm really just sort of following everyone around, recording what they do. So there's an element, as I'm writing, there's much more of an element of discovery for me, as well as for the readers as they go through.
Wow. So, that is amazing because you have answered some question that we already have prepared for you.
Sorry.
That is interesting. For example, when you say that the city is under pressure, this is something that we love it on this book because Ilmar is you start the story in the point that everyone wants to start the revolution, and all the different you know, all the different I don't know to say bands or
Groups.
people in the, you know, the workers, the mafia,
Mhm.
and everyone want to make the first movement, but anyone move any finger, you know, that is, and the pressure is higher and higher, you know, and this is something that we love it in the history, okay, because it's very very interesting, because at the end the city looks like is another character on the book, you know, and that is very interesting. And related that you said, related with the characters that is moving from books. I have one question from our readers that say Helgram. Helgram is going to, to appear in other books or not? Because everyone here in Spain, when we, you know, and this is my own opinion, okay? When I started to read the book and I saw the monster in the forest wood, okay, I said in my mind, oh, okay, Bach moment, check. You know, I said, this is the check for Adrian Tchaikovsky. Yes, this is the Bach in the forest. Okay, let's go. Continue. And when we, when you read the Hellgram, the final Hellgram plot twist, you know, everyone said, "Oh my God, you got us!" Was absolutely, was incredible. In my opinion, was everyone. You know, as I told you, I already made the check about the bug, about the, you know, this is your style, you know. And I said that is okay. And when we saw the wife of Helgram, that was absolutely amazing, and everyone in the club, you know, all of I see your, I see you in with the microphone, you know, and say boom, the plot twist, boom, ¿sabes? And was absolutely amazing, and everyone in the club answer, make the question, the same question: are we going to hear more about Hologram in the next books?
Yes, so in English we have three full-length novels out, and there's also a novella that has just come out, which is an extra, just an extra book, not one of the main five. I can confirm that Helgrim has already made a reappearance in those books, and we're probably going to see more of him later on as well. Yeah, I mean, he's also one of my favorite characters. Which is weird because of course he doesn't come from Ilmar. He doesn't even come from that world. He's from somewhere else entirely, which is even worse, which we kind of, yeah, we see tiny glimpses of in his sections.
And maybe it's a big spoiler, but are you going to show us the world from Helgram, or only Helgram in other city, in other place? Because it's very clear that the forest wood is an entrance or an next, you know, an nexo, I don't to
Yes.
say, between different worlds, or, you know, or layers of the world.
Yes,
Um,
it's definitely. I realized that. I mean, I'm kind of drawing a bit on C.S. Lewis in a way because it is, you know, it is a wood between worlds like he's got in the Narnia books. But yes, so there is a world out there that Helgum comes from. I don't think we'll see it, but we hear a bit about it in City of Last Chances. We will hear more about it in later books, just really through Helgrim's thoughts. But it's a world that's entirely consumed by a single war. Basically, it's in a sort of a Great War, sort of First World War sort of feeling, which
wow.
is why, of course, he's got a gas mask and that kind of his uniform. If you think of that kind of
I'm so
uh,
sorry, but I'm excited. Sorry. Oh my God. Oh my God. That is amazing with because it's another step in time, because as you said, Ilmar is in 18 in the 1800 year, and the First World War is is in advance in timeline. So this could be very, very interesting. And from Spain fans, we hope so that you show us more from Hologram and from his work. That is absolutely, we are in love with this character. Okay. More question, because we don't have a lot of time. I would like to translate you more question. Okay, we have one doubt, because who killed Overton, the master Overton? Because we are, when we are reading the how kill Overton with a headshot, a lot of people thought, that was. I'm sorry, because maybe I think that the names of the characters is different in Spanish than in English. But some of us think that is Nihilostes who shoot to Overton, but there are other group of people that said no, it's an unknown killer. Please, can you?
So the person
so-
who actually, I mean, I would say pulls the trigger, but speaks the word, does not turn up anywhere else in the book. They are a hired assassin, who I might bring in a later book, because they kind of did stick in my mind. But as far as City of Last Chances goes, that is the only scene they're in. And I think Nihilostes is dead at that point, or at least is she's either dead or about to die in the Bitter Sisters' custody. There is, of course, a question of who then has hired the assassin. And there is an answer to that, which is sort of, I have deliberately not made clear in the book, but I can tell you it if you want.
No, I prefer to discover by myself.
But it's essentially, there is a clue in the scene. It's not a very strong clue, and you have to kind of squint a lot, but there is a clue in the scene as to where the orders have come from, and it's basically down to the weapon that's being used.
Okay, I have homework to do. I have to reread this chapter very slowly and try to discover what is the clue. Okay, that is more interesting. Okay. Next question. During the reading, we have seen some possible reference to other books and authors. Could you tell us who is your reference in fantasy and science fiction? Who are your reference related with related with fantasy? Who are your reference in fantasy or science fiction?
When you say reference, do you mean sort of inspiration?
Your author, for example, Isaac Asimov from fantasy.
Oh, I see. I mean, I think probably the big one is Gene Wolfe. So he's if you don't know him, he's an American author. He is most well known for writing a very big series of books called The Solar Cycle, that start with Shadow of the Torturer. He's an inspiration to me mostly because he writes the most multi-layered and complex narratives, so that you can keep reading and you can interpret them on all these different levels, and you can make all these little connections. And again, he's a writer who by in his standard style does not explain things, but leaves clues so that the reader can come to their own conclusions about what is going on. And that's, I'm doing a little of that in City of Last Chances, in this series in particular, where I'm rather than my normal style of just straight out and out exposition of explaining exactly how everything works, I'm making references and leaving clues and building up a world that that is there really to explore, rather than just to be sort of sort of thrust in my readers' faces. And really, I think it's probably Gene Wolfe that's taught me as much more about that sort of writing than anyone else.
You have done well, because you have done exactly the same in this book, because you are planning a lot of different layers, a lot of clues that so is absolutely great to know what is the reference. I know now I have more homeworks. I need to look for some book from Jane Wolfe. Okay. Please, I would like to say to everyone, if someone has something to say, one question, please don't hesitate to raise your hand, okay, and make the question by yourself, okay. More question for here. This year you has published Days of Shattered Fate. Do you recommend to read chronological order or published order? This is a question from Jesus. That is, Jesus is not possible to attend to join us today, but he sent us this question. Do you recommend to read your books in a chronological order or in published order?
So normally the two are the same. I think what we're talking about here is the Days of Shattered Faith is the third main novel in the series. It came out last year. The main character of that book is the focus of the novella that's just come out, which is Lives of Bitter Rain. And you can read those books in either order. You'll get everything. Essentially, if you read the novella first, you'll get her early life leading up to the point where the main book takes off. And so you'll get everything in that kind of standard. You'll see exactly where she's come from. If you read the novel first, as it came out first, and then go back to the novella, you will get a lot of sort of information filled in about not only how this character got to the place she is, but there's a lot of background there about how the Palatine work, because she's a diplomat and a spy, and she travels all over there. There's much more travel in this novella than there is in any of the novels, and you see the workings of the Palatine state from the inside. So it works either way, and I think the idea in writing it and releasing it in that order is you've got a choice of what sort of reading experience you want, really. So it should work either way. In general, for the whole series, like I say, you can pick up any book, but you get a little more, I think, if you're reading them in the order that they're published, just because you can recognize the characters who turn up from other books, even though you don't necessarily need to recognize them in order to follow what's going on.
Perfect. Looks like these world novels, because as if you read from the beginning, you get more reference from historically, so it's okay. Gerardo, you raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Yes, the question is, what does a writer read if has time to? Because you are talking about Gene Wolfe. I suppose you read it when you were younger, because now you don't have time to read, I suppose. We can see a lot of books behind of you, but publishing so many books in 1 year. What do you like to read? Something close to the things you are writing, or something completely different?
Yeah, most of what I read is still science fiction and fantasy, and I don't read as much as I would like. I don't get that much reading. I read a lot through audiobooks these days because I find that's quite efficient. But in general, I think I am always interested in sort of new kinds of world building. I am the reason I write and the reason I read I'm fascinated by the idea of other worlds and how people can construct really interesting places. And so finding a book that has a very new take on that, whether it's a science fiction book or a fantasy book, is always of interest to me.
Thank you.
And more question from Tomás, Jorge, Ismael. Ismael, you had one question. I think that I have here related.
Sí. Hi. Many things. I think is the English title. Many things. Here is Criaturas Fabricadas. It could be perfectly ubicated in this web from the city. Do you have some plans to write more about this world or these characters from the Make Things?
I would like to. So generally, there needs to be two things in order for me to go back to a setting. First of all, I need to have an idea, and in that case, yes, I can. There are certainly more stories I can tell in that setting, but there also needs to be publisher interest. And at the moment, that book hasn't done well enough. I don't think that the original American publisher would be necessarily interested in me writing a sequel for them. However, the book has just, obviously it's been translated for you. It's had a separate release in Britain now, so it's possible we might be shifting into that territory where they would be interested. So it's certainly possible, and the ideas are certainly there. I kind of need to test the waters with the publisher.
It's okay, Ismael. You have your, and
yes,
of course, don't hesitate to make the question, because this is a unique opportunity. The love consueling with Adrian Tchaikovsky. So if you have some question, yeah, Fran.
Yeah, sorry about my English, but I want to know that the novel feels like a reflection on how systems crash individual identities, or I think so. Are you personally optimistic about humanity's ability to change?
I mean, I think baseline, my baseline attitude is very pessimistic. I don't have a lot of natural faith in human nature, but on the other hand, what you tend to find is just when you feel everything is doomed as far as sort of people and the world goes, you come across something absolutely amazing. I mean, looking at, for example, the scale of the protests in America just in the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
That's genuinely amazing. It's genuinely very heartening that you've got 7 million people protesting completely peacefully against an authoritarian regime, and the fact that can happen and that people haven't been sort of bullied and scared out of it is amazing. I'm very, yeah, I get very oppressed about the state of the environment, but at the same time, we are the amount of energy we're getting from renewables, for example, now is actually enormously high, and there are points in time when there are some whole cities and nations that are being powered entirely by renewable energy. So I think one of the problems we've got in our kind of information ecology is there are a lot of actors such as media companies and, for example, a lot of the companies who are causing the problem that want us to think that things are so bad you can't do anything. And it's always worth seeking out those stories that remind you that actually, yes, we're not doomed, and that we have a fighting chance to pull ourselves out of the problem that we're in.
Okay, thank you, Adrian.
Okay, do you have some question, Jorge, for example, or Tomás, or Jose Cortez? You didn't speak anything.
probably we have many questions and we can stay here all night listening to Adrian. But I think that we have rebirth here for a time, and I don't know. I only can say that he brings us a series of wonderful books, and only I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Um, and anything else in my stupid English, and so so thank you, and
Stay. Okay. Stay
You're
here.
you're very welcome.
I only have one question related with the book. The reproach.
oh,
How the hell do you have this idea? That was this is something that everyone in the club said. You know that. Wow, how this idea come from? Where is the source of this idea? Is absolutely amazing, because it's something special between you know, a course with with an theater, you know, that's absolutely amazing. What can you could you sorry, could you explain us a little bit what is the source of that idea?
Well, this is an interesting thing. So I was talking earlier about the different process I've used to write this book, which is that I'm much more discovering what's going to happen. And in this case, at the beginning of the book, really the first contact we get with her approach is when the Ockleby's assistant runs off into the approach with the monster chasing her. And that was kind of my first understanding that there was that place even existed. It wasn't something I'd sat down and worked out, but the way that the characters were acting, I said, okay, well, she's gone somewhere, and apparently she's gone somewhere that obviously you can't just go and get her. And it's complicated enough that the monster can't just go and get her. So what's over there? And the reproach just kind of built itself in the book, which is kind of appropriate in a way. It's sort of from the way the book unfolded, the reproach just sort of came into being.
Okay, that's it. So no, that's it, because that you know, we are in love with the book. You know, as I told you, that is the first one of the, maybe the first or the second time that everyone in the club said the same, and we are in love with this book. Of course, as soon as we get the second book in Spanish, I think that we will make a second book club. And I have one question related with that. Are you planning to come back to Spain next year to Celsius, for example, or it's too early to know what is your agenda for next year?
I don't know for sure, but I'd certainly like to. I mean, I've been to Celsius, I think 4 or 5 times now. It's my wife and I really like to come over. It's kind of it's a holiday as much as a kind of a working convention. So although I've got another convention booked in for about a week or so afterwards, which would normally make me a little shy of, you know, planning 2 foreign trips that quickly, one after another, I think I'd like to make an exception and come over if I possibly can.
Okay, I will be pleased to count with you next year, because it's true that this year in Celsius you join with other authors, you know, and this year was an explode, you know, about the people. That is not the normal Celsius, but we are pleased to come with you, and because you are very near, and thank you so much to stay here with us with Read K. and we hope to hear more about you during the next month. But probably next week you will release another book. I don't know. I really think that you have an evil plan, to get our money, because it's absolutely amazing your pace of publishing. And again, thank you so much to stay with us. We don't like to steal more time. Um, thank you so much to join today and share with us these moments, these questions, and to be open to stay with us. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm
Thank
going
you, Adrian.
to cut. Okay.